Troy, welcome back to the Economic War Room.
It's good to be here, Kevin.
You know, last time you were here, we had an entirely different political administration, entirely different goals. But you've been in the energy industry through a lot of administrations. What is it, 30 years, something like that?
Yeah, 30 years, yep.
Yeah, so let's go back in time to the good old days, meaning last year or the year before, about what American energy policy was under the Trump administration. What were things like just not long ago?
Well, I think the easiest way to describe it is that President Trump tried to make it easier to get access to the industry, to move through regulations. There was just an overburdened regulation system that was put into place in the prior administration, and he tried to alleviate that. That was probably the best way to describe it.
He tried to smooth things out so we could produce more energy. Let me ask a quick question. If we don't produce energy here, where does it get produced?
It gets produced overseas, and then we're beholden to whatever
Overseas,
country.
Meaning
yeah,
Iran,
Iran,
Middle
Iraq,
East.
Middle East, Russia, those places, even Canada from a certain perspective.
Let's talk about just the Middle East and Russia. Do they have the cleanest energy policies or policies for producing oil and gas? Do they conform to the same strict environmental standards that we do here?
Oh, absolutely not. Between us and Canada, we're the most premier country as far as environmental cleanliness as it relates to the energy space.
So just because we stop production of energy here doesn't mean we stop the demand for energy here, right?
No, I mean the carbon footprint will just spread over there, and the carbons will be released into the atmosphere in those countries.
And it'll be worse.
It'll be much worse.
All right, so bottom line is Biden administration comes in, and they're going to bring in this new environmental approach that's being pushed by these environmental groups, many of which have been funded by Vladimir Putin. And they're now pushing. So how does that change from what we saw under the Trump administration to the Biden administration?
Well, I think what we've seen initially, there's a lot of unknowns with what's going to happen. There's been a stay on any new federal permits related to drilling, related to easements, related to any aspect of anything that you would need to get on federal lands. And there's a lot of questions on what that means. So I guess there's a level of uncertainty for the next 60 days on what his actual policies are going to be, except to say that there is going to be a tightening down of policy as it relates to energy.
Now, I'm not uncertain. I think he's headed to banning fracking. I think that's exactly, he said very publicly. Let's watch this clip from the debate that he had with President Trump and see what he actually said about fracking.
And what about fracking?
All right, let me allow Vice President Biden to respond.
I never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did. Show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is he's
it,
flat lying.
Would you rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking.
So you heard him. He said, I do rule out banning fracking. And yet in the first days of his administration, the first thing he did was put a pause on fracking on federal lands, right?
Absolutely, and the unfortunate thing for that is a lot of the Native American tribes that support the policies of the current administration are being hurt by the fact that they get a lot of their revenue from their oil industry that's on the reservation. We've even seen them reach out to the Department of Interior with letters saying you can't do that on our sovereign lands, and this is unconstitutional and those sorts of things. I mean, it's hurting.
Worried.
Yeah, they're very worried. It's hurting the Native American tribes in America, where a lot of this is.